right, I'm going to call to order notice of a specially called City Council meeting of the City of Manvel, September 26, 2022. I have the inspirational reading, and I enlisted some help with this, and think we came up with one. Dan Johnson helped me. I think we came up with one that's most applicable for tonight. This was issued by Grace Financial Advisors. And it says, money and possessions are the second most talked about subject in the Bible, following the kingdom of heaven. If it isn't because God needs money, but because money and possessions reflect what we truly think about God, what we value determines where our heart is. Jesus said in Matthew 6:21, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." We will hold loosely to things of this world and desire him and his glory, or we hold more tightly to the things of this world and put him in a lower place in our lives. Jesus said in Matthew 6:24, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." We are all serving someone or something. Who or what are you serving? Will you stand and join me in the pledges, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Now we have the public comments section. Do I have any public comments? No public comments. And now we have a city manager's update.
I don't have anything for you today.
Nothing new and different since last Monday?
Not at this point. I didn't want to give you an update on COVID since it's just been a week.
Okay, thank you for that. And so we move straight on to our regular agenda. Consideration and possible action to approve on first reading ordinance 2022-0-24, an ordinance approving and adopting the City of Manvel, Texas operating capital improvement program and MEDC budget for the fiscal year 2023, making appropriations for the city for such year as reflected in said budget, establishing the procedure for intra-budget transfers, approving all programs and expenditures contained therein, authorizing the city manager to make any budgeted expenditure without further action by the city council, and containing other provisions relating to the subject. This was tabled on 9/19/2022. Chris.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Evening.
Back again. Don't really have a whole lot to add this week, and we know the meeting is short. Just want to remind everybody that if no action is taken tonight, the 60-day window will run out for our ability to set the tax rate, and it will be reverted back to the lower of either the no new revenue rate for this year or the rate that it was last year. That number would be about 49 cents for the no new revenue this year, and that would shave off roughly $1 million of revenue out of the general fund, which would mean a whole lot of cutbacks or a whole lot of digging deep into the fund balance to cover all that. So would really like to have some sort of action tonight and make that all a moot point, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you've had since last Monday or since you received the information about the salaries and the graphs that we presented to you.
Sorry, let me put my thing on so you can hear me. I don't see where our steps are and how the numbers that you're using correlate to the compensation study. So
The,
throw the compensation study out altogether and just go with X%?
no, it's, what I did, I believe you had the 2 pages that were labeled 3% and 15 years on that spreadsheet that I provided. It should be the second and third tabs.
Got it. 3%
Okay.
in 15 years?
So I took the minimum and maximum of the 50th percentile range that were provided for the salary surveys, with the exception, I believe, of Chad's, because they provided HR directors instead of managers. And I went and found comparable manager positions so that we could get a minimum and a maximum range for him. And I took what it would take at 3% to get from the minimum to the maximum. That's on the 3% tab. And you can kind of see that those roughly fall anywhere between, I think, 9 years was the smallest, up to 16 years to get from min to max. And then the second page is 15 years. If you just said it takes you 15 years to get from our minimum to our maximum, and some of the percentages had to be calculated out. Some of them are bigger than 3%, some of them are a little smaller than 3%, but it would take 15 years to get you exactly from the bottom to the top. And those were the numbers that I was using when I was comparing. When you see the 2 graphs, the one on the left is using the data from that 3% line, and the one on the right is using the data from the 15-year.
All right, so that helps a little bit, because that's not the way I read that. So, okay, now I see what you did there, but how does that correlate to the salary survey?
You are taking, for every position available, you're taking the 50th percentile minimum, which should have been at the very bottom of that graph, or very bottom of the data. They should have a number that was 50th percentile, and they have a minimum 50th percentile and a maximum 50th percentile for every position. So I took those 2 numbers, put them on the bookends of each one of those charts. And like I said, once I got to the maximum of 3%, I made sure that I went over that maximum, so some of them are a little bit higher. And the 15 years was just easy enough to get it as close as possible, adjusting the percentages a little bit here and there.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick on Dan only because Dan is first on the list of the salary survey. So, in the salary survey, it said that that position, the proposed range was 129, 356 to 200, 502. But that's not where you started. You started at 121 and topped out at 189. So you see where I'm missing? How did we? I get where your 3% came from now, so I'm cool with that. But why did we go lower than what the salary survey was recommending?
Okay, which 2 numbers did you say first?
So it says the proposed minimum range was 129, 356 to 200, 502.
Not sure where those numbers were coming from. The numbers I pulled were straight off the salary survey graph. And those list, because it's got a median, an average, a 60th, a 70th, and a 75th percentile. You said, well, what was the first set of numbers again? 129?
129, 356, and 200, 502. And that's coming out of the spreadsheet that I think that came out when the documents came out to us in June. So I see now where you got your 121 to 186.
Yeah, and it almost seems like the two numbers that you're giving me was the maximum for the maximum for the minimum and the maximum for that position. But all of my information went straight off that line right there.
Let's see if I can find this, and if you want to move on to somebody else.
My only comment is, it was what I was looking for. It gave me a picture of what we look at as a whole. And I don't have any other question. Everything was answered for me to show where we lie and that we are going where we're supposed to go. And for the future, if we want to tighten it up, we'll give direction to tighten it up in the future.
Sorry, with what Lorraine was saying. I just wanted to be able to see it. And thank you very much for putting this together.
Thing is the tax rate. You know, once we settle on a budget, 57 cents will fund the budget that you have. If you have something else, you can go up to that 57, 32, 47, but I don't think you need to. I think you could keep it at the current tax rate if you wanted to. And of course, we have a breakdown by what is maintenance operation, what is the interest and sinking portion of that tax rate as well, so.
We're going to be what? Because we still have to, you were saying in the previous one it was 5. So do we just keep it as is, or are we?
This one, the second one is actually at the 7%. If you want to do something less than that, it will fund less than that.
So we're just doing 7% for this, for the raises?
The budget funds 7%. The question is, if you want to do something different than that.
So again, if now we've had him go back and give us the step scale, so we know where the step scales are, but we're not putting people in a particular step. We're just going to do 7% across the board, which then, if that's the way I'm understanding you, then the follow-up question is going to be, are we throwing this out?
No, again, in the information that he sent, it has the current, it has 3%, 5%, and 7%. And like I said at the beginning of this whole issue, 3% gets most of the employees into the minimum 50% range. There are several employees, if you wanted to go higher than that, then it would take more than 3%. And I think to get there's 4 police officers, I think, that it would need 9% in order to get to the minimum. Because right now, they're based on years of experience and certifications. Most of them are straight out of the academy. Therefore, they have less experience than some of the other officers that are higher up on that scale.
So then we have people on your list here that if that's the case, then giving them 7% throws them well outside of the scale that he just put
It
together.
depends, because again, the scale is based on years of service with the city of Manvel. It doesn't take into account years of service before they were hired here. You know, you brought up Dan. Dan's been here for two and a half years. He worked 12 years as a contract city attorney, a city engineer for the city of Manvel, and he's got 10 years before that with other cities. So the question then is, the salary survey was only looking at years of service for the city. That's what that graph is. Not years of service, years of experience, let's put it that way.
In answer to your question, Jason, I think what would have to happen is that would have to be a reevaluation of every employee on an individual basis, placed in a what we have as a sort of non-existent step program. We need to decide tonight about whether we are going to, as Nicole said, what percentage we're going to plug in here. I want to say that I'm uncomfortable listing individual employees in this discussion at this table. It's not our purview. It is something that, if you want to talk about any more of that, I ask you to mention the position. I think it's inappropriate for us to call out one employee or another. It's not what we're supposed to be doing. If you have a recommendation, let's come forward with the recommendation. Otherwise, I think that there is always time for individuals to ask their questions or talk to the rest of the staff about plans to be implemented, i.e. a particular step plan or another. Right now, I would like to ask for the recommendation of the raises in a percentage. And in essence, it would be across the board, correct? Correct. Do we have a recommendation? Does anybody have a preference that they would prefer to see this?
I want to recommend that we do the 7%, because that's what we have. I saw the data, this is just me. In whole, if I understand it correctly, we have 4 employees, maybe 5 that have been here longer than 9 years. Everybody else is relatively young and not age, just being here. And we're actually on a pretty good track staff-wise, considering what we are compared to cities our size, what we have to offer. This whole conversation started because of that study that we received. And I was not shy, and I don't think any of us are shy about focusing on our police and getting them where they need to get. And that 7% was a long shot, but we went with it. And I will say, because I think a couple of us did say to Kyle, whatever you feel everything else was worth, give us a number. He gave us that number, and this is it. And I do believe and want to comment that for the future and moving forward, we do need a step plan for everyone. We have it for the police. It's going to work, and hearing a lot of good things about that step plan, that everybody's feeling like they know where they're going from here on out when it comes to the police. But for staff, For the future, we'll give direction when it's appropriate. Today is not that day to give direction, to put that step plan for the employees. We'll have to do that later. But I have good data and reason to believe that 7% per the direction of what staff is asking. And he said a few of them need 9. I think he said the police, there's a few of them that need 9 in order to get where they need to get. That's going to be my recommendation.
So is it 7 or is it 9? I mean,
From last week, he said there's going to be, in order to put them within that, use that data and use that salary survey, 4 of them need to go a little bit higher to even meet that minimum requirement to keep them in that.
we can't say that it's just 7% across, and I'm sorry that we're having a conversation, Your Honor, but I hope you'll give me the leeway, but if we tell him 7% and that's what we vote on, then how is he going to give them 9?
My understanding is, and I'm hoping this is true, that that 7% across the board would apply to everyone, and then the chief, when these relatively new, very new policemen reach a point where they can be given an additional 2%. Then that will happen. But that will happen from the chief, correct?
Again, you're trying to get the police to the minimum 50%.
Right.
That would happen, I would assume that would happen October 1st.
Okay.
That extra 2% for those 4 police officers who are straight out of the academy, in order to get them to that 50% minimum would happen with the beginning of the budget.
Okay, so then the vote is not 7%. The vote is to get them to 50%, to the 50%. Okay. Then that's the way the vote should be structured. I'm glad that I'm bold and ready to be called down when I'm wrong. So, all right, so do I have a motion to issue the raise? How should we structure?
Well, I think what you do is you adopt the budget.
Okay. All right, hey.
I understand what you're looking for.
Just
and
imagine
That's
that.
what's included in the salary line items for that police officer, or police department.
Okay, I didn't know whether we
Yeah,
needed an
no,
extra
I don't think
stipulation.
so. I think you just simply adopt the budget.
Okay. Do I have a motion, excuse me, to adopt the budget? No vote, votes, okay. No. Yeah,
I make a motion to adopt the budget.
And I'll second that motion.
all right. All those in favor? Oh, it does? The budget? Okay, all right. I didn't think the budget did, but I apologize. All right, we have a roll call vote then. Are you ready? Madam Secretary? All right. Larry Acree,
Four.
Yes.
Jane Hain,
Yes.
Nicole Tyson,
No.
no. Deborah Davison, yes. Ed
Yes.
and Jason,
I'm a no.
all right.
Yes.
All right, so we have a 5-2 vote, and the motion passes. Thank you. All right, next. Consideration and possible action to ratify the property tax increase reflected in the 2023 fiscal year budget that was just adopted that raises more property taxes than the fiscal year 2022 budget. This was tabled on 9/19/2022. Okay, you want to tell us what that means?
This is a requirement in state law that you have to ratify the property tax rate that's included in the budget. And like I said, that was a 57-cent tax rate. So it's a straight vote that's required by state law for you to ratify that tax rate.
Okay, and that's pretty much a given, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to ratify the 57-cent tax rate.
I'll second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 5-2. Thank you. Number 3, consideration and possible action to approve on first reading ordinance 2022-0-25, an ordinance providing for the assessment, levy, and collection of ad valorem taxes for the city of Manvel, Texas, for the year 2022, and for each year thereafter until otherwise provided, providing the date on which such taxes shall be due and payable, providing for penalty and interest on all taxes not timely paid, and repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, tabled on 9/19/2022. Do I have any additional discussion? No? All right. Do I have, we're going to have to read the motion, yes? Yes. Okay,
Specific to state law.
all right. Yeah. This is, motion that the property tax be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.57000057 which is effectively a 14.5% increase in the tax rate. The tax rate consists of 0.363225, 36.3225 cents for maintenance and operations, and 0.206775, 20.6775 cents for debt service as reflected in ordinance 2022-0-25 to adopt the municipal tax rate for tax year 2022. Have a roll call vote. I need a second, excuse me.
I'll second.
All right, and again, a roll call vote. Larry Akery?
Yes.
Lorraine Hain?
Yes.
Nicole Tyson?
Yes.
Deborah Davison is a yes. Ed Perry?
Yes.
Jason?
No.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hudson, I couldn't get your name out fast enough. So therefore, we have a 6-7, it carries. 6-1, excuse me, 6-1 vote. I was thinking of the total all the way down. And the motion passes. All right. Do we have any council comments? Anything coming up? All right. Do I have a motion to, excuse me, yes.
Just I have a question. So the ordinance that was in the package has the old tax rate on it. I presume you're going to fix that before. Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, we had sort of discussed that preliminarily. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor? All those opposed? All right, motion carries 7-0.